Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of A Marriage Like That podcast. I'm your host, the scene snob, Mick Manhattan, and I'm together, as always, with my lovely wife.
Mrs. Scene Snob.
That's right. Oh, you jumped in there. I love it. You're getting a little more confident behind the mic. I love that.
No, you just took a longer pause.
All right. Dead air. I get it. But, we're back again, and it's the week before Thanksgiving. How are you doing, babe?
I'm alright. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Tired. We had a fall concert this evening that was amazing and everything that I hoped it would be.
I was so weirded out by, like, the kids were so cute and they did a great job, and like our oldest was in it.
It was seven.
Yeah. And it was just like his class, like that grade was doing it, and
it just, they never turn out fun or good. Like, there's always the mad person who's sitting in front of you. The chairs are always too close together. You always pick the wrong side of the gym to sit on that your child is sitting on the stage for, so you have no clear shot. Everybody seems miserable. The teacher who's helping always stands right in front of your child.
That was the most annoying part for me. Was because I couldn't see him when he was up on the I don't know, like the rafters, I guess. They're not rafters. They're like risers, yeah. There you go. So he was on the risers, but where he was standing and where I was sitting, he was right behind a tree.
Yeah.
That was kind of a pointless tree. It was just fall foliage.
And they should have brought the risers closer. It was just poorly done.
Yeah.
Fun, and they're adorable. Yeah.
For an elementary school, that, it is what it is. And
they spelled his name wrong. So I was kind of bitter from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, to be fair, I mean, we love his school. They're amazing. He has the best time. So definitely not ragging on them, but I just don't understand why the concerts always have to be such a bad time.
The thing that annoyed me was him being behind that tree, so I couldn't see him the entire time. And then when he would go up to play his instruments, the two times he got up to play these instruments, I got up to move to take pictures, and she stood right in front of me, between he and I, for my pictures and videos.
I know.
And I'm like, now the first time I'm like, I guess, I was like, it was very weird that she was right in front of him.
Well, so it's hard to explain, but it seemed like she was getting out of the way from the center stage, but it just, logistically, that was not a great room to have it in.
Now when she had her ukulele in hand, she was right there, center stage, right in front of the kids.
All right, but he did amazing. He had a speaking part that he wasn't supposed to, and volunteered at the last minute, and he was perfect.
He did a great job. My problem with this mess was it was a fall thing, and we're a week away from Thanksgiving, so I get it. But then she says at the end, we're not doing a Christmas thing. I thought it'd be better to do a fall thing. And it's all these songs that I'm just like, really? Like, I'd be fine with do a Christmas thing, but incorporate Hanukkah, incorporate Kwanzaa.
Well, no, so it was more to get different. Yeah, I know. I don't know.
I mean, come on. No, it's keep Christmas out of the schools. And I'm not going to go crazy over that and say, but I'm saying, like, you can do it all.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Instead of doing...
I mean, they had a, Korean and a Spanish song.
Oh, and the kids did great. I was so crazy to see, how well, with such short time, they memorized other languages, songs in other languages. And again, I'm fine with that.
Right.
I'm fine with them having a full... But now I'm listening to Halloween songs a week before Thanksgiving because you don't want to do it
3 weeks after Halloween's over.
I'm listening to a Veterans Day march. That was the first thing. Then the Halloween thing came way later, and it was all out of whack. It was weird. And should have led with the Halloween one.
I know. At least in chronological order.
Yeah. But... that's my gripe on that.
Yeah, it was fun though. It's just tiring. It's exhausting, especially when you have a 3-year-old who's tired and doesn't want to sit still and wants to put on his own concert.
Oh God, he was funny today though.
He's so funny.
He was singing like crazy. Christmas songs, because my concerts are Christmas songs.
Yeah.
In my house, are Christmas.
That's right.
Even at 4th of July.
Yeah.
No, so we did that. So it was a pretty tiring day, but we wanted to get behind the mic anyway, because there were some things we wanted to talk about. So I wanted to cover a couple things. Something we covered in a previous show, the Matthew Modine show that we did, was something that Matthew Modine had said.
Yep.
You know, if you have all of these technical coordinators on a movie set and things like that.
For fight scenes.
For fight scenes and stunts and all that stuff. And like, you know, police shows have police technical coordinators, stuff like that. To make sure everything's done right and safely. Why don't you have some sort, and he used this word, why don't we have some sort of intimacy counselor?
Yep.
Or intimacy coordinator, rather, he said, on set, to help make sure that everybody's, not just the women, but the men too, everybody feels comfortable during like sex scenes or, you know, either in kissing or nudity or anything like that. And like if it's brought up by the director, there's somebody there who's a coordinator who can kind of be like, all right, I'm going to handle this, you know, and that's their job. And I know we talked about that, and we talked about it on the last show, and that's a great idea, and I think that needs to be incorporated. Well, it's funny that it was, it's not funny, but it's actually ironic, yeah.
Coincidental.
Well, if it's coincidental, it's not ironic. So it is, I guess coincidental is the proper term. The UK, the Directors UK Guild, so the United Kingdom now, in Britain.
You want some tea?
You want some tea? Listen, I picked on the British. We love our Doctor Who.
Oh, for sure. We had a Doctor Who wedding. Come on.
Yeah.
Kind of wish I was British.
They're launching
Healthcare. Sorry.
Yeah. They're launching a new initiative in filmmaking, and television making, everything. In their industry, I should say, intimacy counselors, and it's pretty ingenious. I was reading the article, and just to kind of bring up some of the points. So it started. I shouldn't say it started with. It's been going on for a long time, but in you know, kind of coming off of the heels of the Me Too movement and so many actresses having hard times. And actors too, like Terry Crews came out, and there's so many.
Yeah, and he was chastised.
I know. I don't want to get that far into that. I want to stick into this.
Okay.
You can save that for another.
No, I know. It's just pointing it out.
So with this, like Amelia Clark had come out, and now she had done nudity for
Game of Thrones,
and she had always talked about. Once her star kind of rose and such, she talked about like, I'm never doing nudity again. She didn't want to do it, and I was whatever. You don't have to. It's not like once you've done it, you have to do it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But I do get what she was saying in the sense that it was like she kind of had to wait for her to start to rise to get there to be able to say that. You know.
It's sad that that's true, but yeah.
And. Yeah, I mean, more and more these days, too, like, the gratuitous nudity and stuff really isn't warranted or needed, you know?
Well,
even in horror films,
kind of
it's
movie.
not even, like, not even in horror movies. Look at a lot of horror movies that are made today.
But I mean, if it's a movie that is for gratuitous nudity, then they will be very giving in that.
Things like that are always going to exist, but,
right.
Yeah, even then, like, the culture has changed so much. You don't see movies like the American Pie anymore.
Right.
You see raunchy comedies. And yeah, they may. I'm not against nudity, and if the actress is for it, who cares? And, you know, like I get it for comedy or horror or whatever else, even drama.
Right.
You know, drama has a lot of nudity. I don't think it's bad, but I do like this. I like the fact that it's coming out, and now the UK is proactively trying to protect actors and actresses through not just through filming, but starting with auditions.
Nice.
And they're changing the culture in a way that there's guidelines that have to be followed by casting.
Wow.
So, just to go back again, so after Amelia Clark came out, she had said that it was very hard to do nude scenes on Game of Thrones. But it was even harder because she was always being pressured to do nudity to get roles. And she had to turn things down. and that's not fair.
No.
Because they were going after her to do these roles because she had done nudity before.
Right.
And she just didn't want to do that. And even if like it didn't call for it in the first place, because a lot of times there's many stories in Hollywood, especially in the horror genre and the drama genre. And I'll say, let's just cover everything. For a long time, it was directors will ask you to do a nude scene or a sex scene the day of.
Yep.
And a lot of times when you're put in that position, you're already shot a bunch of stuff, and they're pressuring you and saying, we need this, we need you to do this, we need you to do this. Some actresses would not be like, well, we'll talk to my agent, I want to do more money. But there were some that were like, oh, no, I'm not doing any nudity. Right. And there were some that just went with it because at the time it's tough.
It's I don't even think that's true for the... So I will rely on you because I wasn't in, and I don't know anything about the movie industry. But, going back to what's, the callback of Matthew Modine, he even said, when he was asked to do a butt scene, I guess, he didn't want to be difficult. He didn't want to seem like he was difficult to work with and have this stigma. And that is true, in or out of the movie industry. I mean, I remember being, I think I was a sophomore in high school, maybe even younger. I went back to South Carolina and everybody was drinking, everybody was hanging out, and I was very, no, maybe it was even younger. Anyway, I remember being pressured into going down on someone and I didn't want to, and I was stigmatized because I didn't want to do that intimate of an act when there were 20 other people doing the same thing in the same area. It seemed, and I was made fun of, I was, and it was awful. And so I can't imagine having that, being reliant for your livelihood and being in that position.
And not just that, yes, reliant for your livelihood, but if this is like your big break.
Right.
It's scary to say no, and that's why I like this intimacy counselor, because basically what the UK is doing, they are the new guidelines are supported by BAFTA, Equity, and the BFI, and the Casting Directors Guild. So that's huge. That's all of their big unions over there, because BAFTA is their Academy Award. Academy of Motion Pictures. That's their academy. That's British.
So we don't have BAFTA here.
No,
so I've heard that. Okay.
It's British.
Oh, okay.
So that's their Academy Awards.
Okay.
So for them to be backing it is huge.
That's great.
Because now that's throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, what this entails is new guidelines are supported, and the guidelines advise a ban on full nudity in any audition or a callback, and no semi-nudity in first auditions. So you're not pressured in your first audition, and they have to say to you in your first audition, this is a role for nudity. If we call you back, are you comfortable with that? Now, to me, that lightens the load a lot from putting the pressure, because that may be another bit of pressure, but the actress has time to think about it.
Correct. And it's not the day of. It's not in the in the middle of shooting, having already had a bunch of scenes.
It's not like come on, give us your, which could happen in auditions too. This is, you've done your first audition. Nudity's not allowed. Mm-hmm. Semi-nudity is not allowed.
And that it reminds me of Fame, where the girl goes to the shady apartment because she thinks it's going to be her big break, and he's like, okay, take your top off. Yeah. So now it will alert you that this is not a legit enterprise,
Oh, yeah. And so the document states that by their nature, auditions are based on a power balance. So we know that. And that some performers can feel obligated to agree to uncomfortable requests to get the job. So that alleviates that. Instead, they suggest performers wear a bikini or trunks and also bring a chaperone. So that offers up a lot.
That's great.
As well as demanding 48 hours notice and full scripts be given for any recalls that require semi-nudity.
Well, let's hope they bring it to the U.S. because that sounds...
Oh, yeah.
pretty heavenly.
And see, I don't want to get too far into it and speculation stuff. I just kind of want to touch down on that, and I think we touched down on it in a good sense. I mean, anybody who's listening, this is definitely interesting, and you should read more about it. Bringing it to the U.S., I 100% agree. I don't think the culture's moved quick enough.
No.
And
I 100% agree.
It's too big right now.
Well, there's a few people who are too big, I feel.
Yeah.
Like the Harvey Weinsteins and like those type of power players that had such a huge role in their power. Again, I don't, I'm not from that industry, but from an outsider's point of view, that's how it seems.
The only way you're really going to get it here is if you have organizations like the Academy, the studios, individually have to agree and say, like, yeah, this is a good idea, let's adopt this. The Academy requires it for any movie that's going to, for any member or anything, like...
That will be considered for an award? Is that
because if they require these other studios or production companies, so if they make this a requirement, but the casting union has to do it too. So that's the way you're going to get in the U.S. is if these organizations, these unions and such, just officially be like, this is standard practice now.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, and we'll
again, if you have them for fight scenes, it makes sense. If you're not doing it for shady reasons, why wouldn't you have something like that?
Well, for so long it was shady, but I think if filmmakers push for it and their companies push for it, I think if you see the way to open up the door to it is have more production companies make it a standard practice of theirs, because they usually do their own casting, but they'll have somebody who's in the union do the casting. But if they make that like if production companies go out and they make that a standard practice for them, for their company, and say, we do this, you can feel safe coming here because we are following this practice, then more and more that will pressure the studios and such to do that as well, and just add a level of safety that is warranted and needed.
Right.
I mean, I've run into it myself. Like it can be a boys' club and it's tough.
Yeah.
And it can be it can be heartbreaking sometimes.
Yeah. So in essence, you could say that if the filmmakers demand it, like with female roles and having more females and having equal pay and that kind of thing, having the filmmakers require it, it could almost be exploitative. Exploitative, is that a word? Or, have the movies being made for the wrong reasons and having a certain expectation because you did it, because of Me Too or because of, girl power or, protecting this. You expect that these are going to be, blockbuster hits, but they're bad movies.
Yes. Well, yeah. So that explains a lot, and that's actually pretty good. I want to talk about this too. Thank you. You reminded me about the Charlie's Angels backlash with Elizabeth Banks and such. And the more and more I read about it, I've kind of gone back and forth on a lot of things. One, I just want to say, like, I don't know how familiar you are with her comments. A lot of her comments were made before the movie came out.
Oh, okay.
Which says to me, in some subconscious realm, you didn't think it was going to do well.
Right.
And now, did you think it wasn't going to do well because you truly blame the culture, and say it's a male-driven industry? Or did you not think it was going to do well because you may have put your heart and soul into this, but was it a good enough movie?
Right.
And, that's a lot of questions to ask, because that's a tough question for any filmmaker to ask themselves. Is this good enough? Did I do a good enough job? And she didn't just star in it. She wrote, directed it, and produced it. So, if it's hard enough for a writer to say that about his script, or his, if it's, but it should be his or her. I mean, writers are all the same. Like, that's not a gender thing.
Their work.
Yeah. So, it's hard enough for a writer to say about their work. It's hard enough about a director to say about their work. it's definitely hard enough for a producer to say about their work, and an actor. She's doing all four. That's not many people can do that,
Right.
pull that off, and do all of that work.
And I love her. I mean, I was, the first one who was like, yes, she can do anything. I mean, however, there is a big difference with, movies that are done for the sake of making a good movie and movies that are done for the sake of exploiting a movement or an ideal or, a perfect way of life. Like, female equality.
Well, a lot of arguments came out because she was basically saying that it's probably not going to do well because men don't like female-driven action.
Which is bullshit. Sorry,
And,
it is baloney.
I agree too. Now, are men driven to go see in droves female-driven action? No, because I think all of us are attracted mostly to the movie. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't, I'm not attracted to go see female-driven action. I wanted to see Atomic Blonde as soon as I saw the first trailer.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because Charlize Theron is amazing.
Yeah, but even Mad Max. Right. I was talking about this on the podcast the other day. And I took those two is because, now if I say I want to see Atomic Blonde because of the sex scenes or because of how beautiful she is,
right.
I say, well, it was the same with Mad Max. And arguably, she was the main star of that movie. And all the other women were too, over Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was just kind of playing Mad Max in the side.
Right.
He was not the driving force.
Yeah,
he was not the protagonist. Oh, you should. It's great.
But I kind of want to make a point to what you're saying really quickly about how you said men are not driven to see female centered movies or female-led action movies. Do you want to know why? It's because representation matters. And men, I think, at the heart of it, I'm not trying to go into this too much, but at the heart of it, men will go see men more likely than they would go see women, just like women want to go see women. Women of color want to see women of color. You know what I mean? So, I think at your core, you will be more attracted to see, someone who represents you, because then you're more inclined to feel like you can be that person, or
Yes.
you can see it through their eyes.
But taking that a few steps further, your point, yeah, when I see a new action movie and I see Chris Evans, and I'm not even saying playing
Jason
Captain America
Momoa.
or Jason Momoa or somebody like that. I see it's kind of playing it out in my head, so I'm more inclined to go see a male-driven movie because it's wow, well, that would be so cool to be that guy.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And as you get older, I think it's less likely. But look at my dad and my grandfathers and stuff. They loved John Wayne because they wanted to see themselves as that type.
Yep.
They went and saw his movies in theaters because it was that's who I want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not against a female-driven action movie. Again, if it's a good movie,
Right.
I will go see it.
Wonder Woman.
And I want to go see it. Wonder Woman, I didn't even want to go see.
I know you didn't.
But not because it was Wonder Woman, because I didn't want my heart broken again.
Right.
My heart was broken from Batman versus Superman,
Yeah.
which she was great in.
Correct.
But I was if they're ruining stories, to me, they're ruining my stories. DC was my comic. I love Marvel too. I collected both, but DC, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, I collected them. I collected Justice League. This was huge for me.
So it wasn't a female reason that you didn't want to go and see it. It was a comic book history reason.
Yes. Is
Which
because
is
they were
very
ruining
different.
movies for me already. With Batman vs. Superman, it broke my heart. So
Let's get into that.
Yeah. So when Wonder Woman was coming out, I was I don't want my heart broken.
Right.
I think she's fantastic, but
She's
it's a
so
bad story.
fantastic.
But more and more, it felt different.
Mm-hmm.
In the trailers, it felt different.
Yeah.
So it didn't.
Although trailers, you can't really go by because they.
I trust Patty Jenkins though, the director,
Yeah.
and her trailers. It felt different. Didn't feel. It didn't have the same vibe as Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
And when we went to see it, I was blown away. I was like, this is a great story that really encapsulates Wonder Woman, and it was perfect. Like, it was written perfectly, shot perfectly. Everything in it was done terrific. But then, on the other hand, you get a movie like Justice League. And right now they're doing the release the Snyder Cut, and I hope they do. And one thing that really bothered me about Justice League, it was such a weird way, because the biggest argument for Wonder Woman is, like, she's so objectified by men, you know, for her looks and things like that. In the comic books and stuff, I was like,
but that's
she wasn't objectified in Wonder Woman.
No.
She was with shots in Justice League, and I pointed those out to you.
You did. You
I made you watch them.
did.
I was like,
what the?
I was like, count how many upskirt shots.
Oh my god!
And I was like, why? I was like, it made
no
reason. Sense, and it was just lingering for a little too long. And I don't know who did it. That's why I want to watch the Snyder Cut. You know, hashtags release the Snyder Cut. Like, I wanted to know why. Like, did he do that? Is that like what? Because it didn't. He didn't do that in Batman versus Superman. So I'm like, why would he do it in Justice League?
Right.
And if that's the case, did Joss Whedon do that? Which makes me feel weird because I was a huge Buffy fan,
right?
Angel fan. You know, a lot of his Firefly, and I've never seen that.
See, I didn't watch Buffy or Angel, but Firefly.
But
it didn't really feel like that.
You've seen Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
And Avengers, you know, Black Widow didn't seem
so weird.
So, like, but it just, they kept showing up, and I'm just like, why do they keep doing this? And it just felt weird to me. And a lot of things about that movie turned me off.
Yeah.
But, like, even, like, in a weird way, like, Jason Momoa's Aquaman is holding the lasso in it, and he's just like, oh, she's really hot. And, like, it just seems so out of place.
Yeah. It
like,
doesn't
even the jokes and everything, I was just like, what is going on here? Like, it was just a whole mess. And that broke my heart again. So it was like Wonder Woman rebuilt it, and then my heart got broken again.
But see, Wonder Woman, you know, did it different because, you know, and we had talked offline about this, about the female reboot of Ghostbusters, and, you know, what you were talking about with the Charlie's Angels backlash is that it wasn't, you know, women are better than men. You know, men are the enemy. Men need to be put in their place. It was just a female empowerment movie without it being like the main point. You know, the main point was her story. Was the story of the movie, not this underlying movement. And I feel like, you know, I mean, I haven't seen the new Charlie's Angels, but especially for the new Ghostbusters, I mean, you and I, you know, I was very excited about the female reboot of Ghostbusters, and you were not so much.
It just didn't, but again, it wasn't about the women, because all four of those women are hilarious, and I was excited for that.
But it was
as we kept going on, and I wouldn't say I wasn't excited to go see it, because I don't know what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we did finally go see it, and man, I was just so turned off by it, because it was a bad story, and there was a lot of heavy-handed treating men like scum, and it's like, I was like, one, your whole social media campaign before the movie came out was completely and utterly pointed towards young girls.
What did you were telling me something about?
There was like a picture they took. I forget exactly what they said. It was Instagram, and they were at a school, and they were in their Ghostbuster uniform, and they took a picture with only girls.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's the girls' turn.
No.
And my problem was, like, I don't care if you have an all-female Ghostbuster movie, but you have kids out there who want to be Ghostbusters, and yeah, they may have. So when they go out there, make them feel like they want to be Ghostbusters. Like, girls who watched the original Ghostbusters, little girls, grew up and still wanted to be Ghostbusters. You know? And so if I feel like you have an obligation to not make it the girls' turn, but say, this is all girls, but come, be a Ghostbuster. That's what it's about. And I feel like that's the legacy you should be leaving, but that's why that movie failed horribly. Yeah. And they imagine all these little boys who went to watch this movie, and a boy ghost who they've been treating like scum and misogynist the entire time, or portrayed as that anyway, they shoot him in the balls to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, why do we need that?
We don't.
Then we have all these arguments for years after. It's like, oh, you just don't get it. You're holding women back. No, it's not. Your movie was not good. And if I would almost be like, start again.
Right.
Go ahead and do it again.
Yeah.
But stop doing things so heavy-handed and saying men are scum because,
Right.
and then saying in interviews, men just don't like these movies. It's like, no, we don't like going and looking like the bad guy when you
just like you didn't from the beginning. Look, you know what I mean? Not that women were made to be the bad guy, but we were, seen as lesser than.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is, equality does not mean now women are better.
Yeah.
That is not what it means. It means that, it's representation without, I don't know.
Like my thing was, like, when they did the Oscars So White a few years ago, and, which was true.
Correct.
It was absolutely 100%
yeah.
true. And there was not enough African American representation in
No.
movies. But now we've had such an explosion of great filmmakers who, and you're seeing so many more African American actors and actresses coming in and doing great things and winning the awards and such. But I mean that was so important when Jordan Peele said, "I don't want to I'll probably never cast a white dude as the lead in my movie
right.
again because I've seen that movie."
Yeah.
And then
over and over and over again.
There was this huge uproar and backlash. Like, oh my God, that's so racist. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it makes sense. I get it. And who cares? Who the hell cares?
Who cares?
I mean, if you're gonna cry, and I'm saying this mostly to white dudes, but like, if you're gonna cry about, well, African Americans should make their own movies if that's what they want, if they want this, and then they do.
Oh my God.
Don't get mad when they make it their way.
Oh my gosh.
So, but that's, again, like, and I get Elizabeth Banks.
Let's not, that could
what
be
she
a
was
whole...
saying. But this is my point that kind of goes with it. Like, she's kind of trying to make the same point. She's making the same point before her movie actually came out. And it did bomb, but I think, I haven't seen it yet.
It's because of Kristen Stewart. Let's be real. Because she is the worst ever.
I think that was, she is, there's no attraction for me as a moviegoer to go watch her on film because I've seen her on film before and it's never been different.
No.
But there's actors like that too, and there's other actresses. So what I'm saying is it's not a woman thing. It's not because she's a woman.
No.
It's because
she's awful.
I don't like her acting.
No.
And
it's like a wet mop. Seriously. She was on Saturday Night Live and there was...
No, I get it, but at the same time, I think like it was miscast in a way. Like, I mean, you can't say that about Charlie's Angels. Like, say like men don't like female-driven action, and they made 2 of these movies that were huge box office successes, like 20 years ago, maybe not even 20 years ago. So, like, what do you say then? Like, this was a hit, like it was a hit when these movies came out. Maybe your movie isn't that good. Now, I watched the trailers, and the trailers seem heavy-handed, and the men are scum. Now, I don't know if the movie's like that. I did read reviews, and I read some spoilers that say it is. But I will reserve judgment of the movie until I see it. I just choose to see it when it's probably on TV or on a streaming service.
Well, I'm not spending that much money to go see in the theater.
But again, it's not that I don't want to support women having their own action movies, but it's like anything. I'm not going to support a bad writer. I'm not going to support a bad director.
Right.
I'm not going to support a bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
That does not attract me, and that basically tells me for 2 hours that I'm the bad guy.
Right.
So that's that's my point. Again, tell me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong. No,
thanks, but no, I meant whoever's listening out there, comment or message us. I'll change my mind if you change my mind. Or you
changed
give
your
me,
mind plenty of times.
Yeah, and you give me a different perspective.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that being said, we were recently watching a video on the 12 signs you're in a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Because I think it's important to always, just kind of do a check-in and see what's out there, whether it's to laugh at the material, because some of them are kind of campy and, you know, a little ridiculous and a little out there, but I do think that there is a takeaway that you can, you know, take from every one of them.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also just learning too as you go on.
Yeah.
And there's never anything wrong with that. So we watched this video, and it's about the 12 signs you were in a healthy relationship. And number 1 is communicate openly, have transparency.
AKA podcast.
Yeah. No, but I
No,
don't
I
disagree that we do communicate.
We do.
It may be heated sometimes,
Sometimes.
which kind of bleeds into number 2. But I would say we're transparent.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are still some fights, though, that we do say we don't know how to communicate with each other. Because we do still struggle with that sometimes with certain topics or certain feelings.
And I do agree that this is a part of communication, but I don't know that it's that we don't say it to each other. I think it's a lot of it is we don't let it bleed in
Right.
on ourselves. Like once we hear something, it's like, are we accepting this?
Right.
Or are we just hearing it and then putting our points out there?
Right, which we do a lot,
Yeah.
to be honest. Yeah.
Which then leads to number
Something
2.
we never do.
You know, arguing. And they do say that, and they do say in the video that arguing is effective,
Yeah.
and arguing
healthy.
effectively
Correct.
is the most effective thing.
Not to
and-
hurt each other.
Yes,
But, yeah.
But arguing can be a good thing and healthy in a relationship, and I do agree. And we do argue. We do our fair share of arguing.
Sure.
And I think a lot of it is hurt pride, or maybe not hurt pride, but I know on my end a lot of it is misunderstanding. Like, I don't want you to misunderstand who I am.
Mm.
You know, like saying something, I want you just to hear me. So like when we get into those arguments, it's like, I want you to hear me, and I don't always know that I'm being heard at that moment. But, you know, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I do think that is true. I think some of it is also, you know, at least for us specifically, we were older when we met. I mean, we both were in, you know, 30, in our 30s,
Yeah.
you know, 30 or over. And at that point in your life, I feel like you are set in a certain way. And neither one of us had been married before, you know, in a super long, serious relationship. I mean, we had been in, you know, longer relationships, but when you think about marriage, 20, you know, 30, 40 years, the ones at least that I've had seem to pale in comparison. But, you know, I think a lot of it is, you know, you're used to doing something a certain way. And on top of that, you know, I had a child when we met. So I had, you know, at least when I had my oldest, you know, I had kind of complete control and decisions and input over how the house was run, how things were done, what order things, you know, cleaning was done in, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think a lot of that has to do with just being set in our ways. You know, you being a bachelor, me having been a single parent. But like you said, you know, it is about feeling like you're being heard. And a struggle that we both have is having that hurt pride. And once we hear something, you know, especially if we recognize it to be true, to throw something at the other person to kind of deflect that off of off of our own self. You know, like if you say something to me and yes, it's true, but in my heart I feel like, well, I only do that because you do this. And that does not help. You know, it doesn't get us anywhere. All it does is, like it normally does, is, you know, turn out to a fight. But
You should stop doing that.
okay.
So,
Yes, but
So I think we excel at number 3, ironically being on microphones. Keep relationship details private. But we were always good about keeping our relationship off of social media.
correct. And I think that was the point they were trying to make, was being passive aggressive or, you know, posting things that.
But also not, I think it's also not just social media. I think it's not going to, not taking intimate details about an argument or whatever else and going to somebody else and talking about it.
Which to be honest, at the beginning we did struggle with, because going back to my, oh, I lost my microphone.
That is hilarious.
It scared me. I had my eyes closed too, because I was all in deep in thought. Going back to being a single parent, I lived with my parents. Mm-hmm. So my parents were a huge part of my life. And when we first got together, and then when we first got married, I did go to them for a lot of details that I should not have confided in them with. I should have confided in you, which we quickly...
we worked that out. And it was a source of contention for a while.
It was.
But
rightfully so.
Yeah, but we did work that out, and I think it did get to a healthier point.
Yeah.
From doing that.
But that all stemmed, I don't know if we brought this up on any of the other episodes, but in the townhouse. It's my favorite story. And that was like the first moment that I had actually stood up for myself within a relationship, because we were in the townhouse which is where I lived when we first met.
Dating.
Yeah. Barely dating. And we had gotten into kind of an argument, or, I got pissed off about something, and I went upstairs, and you wrote on social media something.
I didn't even write. I just put a feeling. I just put annoyed.
Was that what it is? You put...
That is it.
My gosh.
That's all. And as soon as I hit...
Publish.
I sent that out.
I don't even think my feet hit the ground.
And all I heard was... and I'm like, oh shoot! I was like, oh my god, I'm in trouble. And you hit the stairs, like you.
I didn't even come all the way down.
No, you came down halfway, and you're just like, if you were going, you can leave now. If you can, something like that. You were just like,
if you have something to say, you say it to me. Don't put it on social media.
I'm not going to have that.
Right.
I deleted it. I put my head down and never posted again.
Nope.
I was like, nothing ever.
But I came to find out later that, because I didn't know you, obviously I didn't know you before I knew you, but, that you were that type to put.
I was.
And so was I, though. Going back on the memories before the old Facebook, when it was like, your name is, and then you would put it like, I cannot tell you how many song lyrics I made as my profile, where it's like, Mary is feeling XYZ, and it's just hilarious to look back on.
It is funny too, because I was always getting reprimanded by everybody for that. And then like the same people were reprimanding me, it seems like after I changed it, they were doing it hardcore, and I'm just like,
wait a minute.
Like, really? I was like, whatever, I changed it. And I felt better after I stopped doing it.
Yeah, me too.
I felt, not just about our relationship,
but
as a person, I was like, I can focus on other things more externally than internally.
Right. And you get the the good attention, not like, oh, what's wrong? What happened?
Yes.
Oh.
I didn't want the negative. I wanted the positive.
Because I don't even feed into that anymore. When someone posts that, I'm like, well, if you want everybody to know, then just post the story. Don't, try and fish.
I've even gotten to a point where I'm just like, grow up.
Yeah.
Just like, grow up. Like, because I've stayed away from it for so long, I think I can.
Yeah.
I think it does kind of justify you to tell somebody, like, grow up if they keep doing it. Number 4, don't hold grudges. Yeah. I'd say I'm better at this than you are. You do hold some grudges.
It was hard to watch that video, I'm not going to lie. And it was my idea. I was like, babe,
100%.
Let's watch like a relationship video, because it's a podcast about relationships.
Yeah.
And as we're watching this, I'm like, wait a minute. Because there are still grudges that
You do.
I do.
And I have to pat myself on the back for this, is that I kind of let go of grudges. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
Is it because of my fat arms? I can't pat myself on the back.
That was your shoulder.
No,
so, I'm.
But now that you see it, like, would you feel? Don't you think you feel like? Because I know I feel better letting the grudges go.
Yeah.
Like, I know there are things that drive me nuts, but like a lot of the things that have driven me nuts in the past that I've kind of just let go don't bother me anymore.
Right. No, right. I mean, what is the point, though? That is, so, on the one hand, it's, well, you did this to me, not specifically you, but just in general, you did this to me, and I still can't believe it, or it still was so, but you reach a certain point where you are responsible for your own happiness. It's the same with parents. I feel like children blame parents. Well, you didn't do this for me, or you did this to me. Now, I'm not going into like the serious.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But, just the run-of-the-mill errors
You
that parents
spoiled
make.
me, and now
Correct.
I can't figure out how to live
You didn't
life.
pay enough attention to me.
Yeah, or something like
not
that.
neglect, but yeah, I mean, you get to a certain point where you have to take ownership of that. I have an aunt that I haven't spoken to in probably 20 years because she still blames my grandparents for her life, and it's just sad.
I have a lot of aunts and uncles that I'm okay not talking to. I'm trying to make the 20-year mark, and it's not even a grudge. It's just it's knock the negativity out of my life.
Yeah, but going back to the grudge thing, but in a relationship, it doesn't do any good. It only holds you in the past, and it makes you mad at the other person for something they no longer are doing and have no control over how they did it in the past.
Yeah. Well, going to number 5. Here's another one that's kind of funny. You have realistic expectations of your partner.
Yeah. See, and what's funny is when we first watched this, I thought you would have more than I would.
I know you did. I 100% know you saw that video and you were like, this is going to shape
He's
him.
going to learn.
We're going to talk about this and it's going to change him.
Now, there were a couple that I think will.
I'm not saying
right
I'm
off the
innocent.
bat, I was like, damn.
But as we were going on, I'm like, I've done that.
Right.
But the realistic expectations. I know I have realistic expectations of you. I don't push you too hard on things. I push you when I think you need to be pushed.
And sometimes you push me on things that you don't want to do also.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like,
I just don't understand.
well, I don't know. Like, I guess it's more of a trivial matter than, like, you will passively aggressively get me to do things that you just don't want to do. So it's not really.
But I don't think that's garnering an unrealistic expectation of you. I think that's more of being a dubious partner at times. Like,
fair.
I don't want to cut the lawn, and you're so much better at it.
No, the lawn doesn't count because I love cutting the lawn.
Oh, 100%. And when people ask me too, I'm like, no, that's Mary's lawn.
Yeah,
like
that's my
used
lawn.
to. And I've told people, it's like I used to do it all, but once she got once she got there and like tried it, she just that sort of thing. Which
and I don't think you've done since I did it the
have
first
not let me.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But I've even said, like, I was like, no, I'll do it. I wouldn't mind getting out there.
No,
And you're like,
I'll
no,
do it.
I'll do it. And like, you didn't even say no. You just went out and did it.
Right.
And that started at the old house, and
Yep.
it continued here. But like, I went out and I raked the leaves that one day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it's for all
I think it's
intents and
for my
purposes.
dad.
Yeah, but you do, and I think that's what it is. Like, he's a green thumb.
Yeah.
I grew up in the concrete jungle. It's a different horse. Like, I've always lived in cities. I never really had to worry about this.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's funny because he never let me cut the lawn. You know what I mean? So it's not like we did it growing up. I just fell in love with it from the moment I did it. And it will say...
It's instilled in you, I think.
Well, but it also depends on what toys you have to do the lawn. If I was out there with a push mower, I would probably be like, mother...
I don't know that I agree to that. Your sister's very much into doing her own lawn,
that's
too.
true. I probably would still...
So, like, I think it might
There's
be an inherent thing.
Yeah.
But
But
going
Margaret
back...
pays.
Well, I don't think everyone... Like, I mean...
No, so...
I have brothers and sisters.
No, yeah. I guess it's not... It doesn't always have to be 100%.
We're all different.
Yeah, no. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, again, there are some times where I'm like, God, I wish we could pay someone to do this. As much fun as it is, but...
But like, going back to the number 5, the realistic expectation. You've told me before that you have unrealistic expectations of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to live up to them still, and I'm like, I can't. It's an uphill battle that has no end.
Now, can I... Okay. So, can I ask you a question, though?
What?
Do you think that the unrealistic expectations at the level that I have them are more detrimental than self-building? Like, do you feel like it betters you trying to live up to those expectations, or do you feel more...
No, I feel more overwhelmed sometimes.
Oh, me too.
And but I think your unrealistic expectations overwhelm you.
Correct.
Not of yourself, but your unrealistic expectations of me overwhelm
Oh,
you.
of myself first, though. Like, that's
Well, yes,
the thing.
I mean, but everybody has an unrealistic expectation of themselves.
But with certain mental health, as you know, it does. So it's not like I know that I am fine and I am perfect and you just suck. You know what I mean? Like, I go after, as much as I go after you and I have unrealistic expectations of you, it is tenfold for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
Well, I mean, I think that's true with everybody. It's the same with me. Like, I have expectations of myself that when I don't meet them, and they are unrealistic, I have to remind myself that unrealistic expectations are never supposed to be met.
Right.
That's the point. But I think a lot of times people don't fully understand that at all times. I mean, eventually you get to it, but like, I think it's just, especially for the stubborn, like when you have unrealistic expectations, something you'll never achieve, and you're stubborn, you're still going to tell yourself, no, I will achieve that.
Yeah, but that's kind of baloney, because you told me that if I went a different route with you, like more try to challenge you.
But you did, and I met expectations in that sense. But I'm talking about the unrealistic ones.
No, I know.
Being perfect all around. Nobody's perfect, and we have to start accepting that.
I am.
And well, there you go. Got that perfect butt.
That's because I quit smoking and I gained all that weight.
No.
Which is
number
true.
6.
I got that butcher butt. You'll see.
No, I don't. Because that makes me think of your dad, and I don't want to think of your dad. What? So weird. Number 6.
Daddy.
Stop. Number 6. Take time and space for yourself. Now, I think we've gotten better about this.
I agree. Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I have Psychocinema and, and the film club and things like that.
There was a time.
And
there was a time it was a source of contention, because I told you, I was like, you need something outside of me. And you disagreed with me. To a fault.
Yes.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah. But then all the fighting happened, and it was like,
No, I know that.
I need time for myself.
Yeah.
And we
I
talked
need to go
about
for
that.
a drive.
You're rewatching Breaking Bad,
Right.
and it's kind of funny you mention that, because remember the episode the other day when he goes out for the diapers, but it's in that show, of course, it's a ruse for him to go and see Jesse.
Let's not talk about that part of it.
I
Let's
know,
just
but
talk
like
about the bar.
and he goes to the bar afterwards to get a drink, you were just like, going to get those diapers, son. I'm like, yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing. It's
Right.
like you need to do something.
Correct.
You need to unwind. You need to take those little things. Like, I'm not saying he should go see a movie without telling his wife. But like, if he stops by a bar and has a drink, now I'm not saying get hammered. I'm saying has a drink and just kind of like evens out and like from the stress and everything. I think we both needed more nights like that when we first had Jack.
Even if we just went and sat in the car in the driveway.
Or just taking a drive.
No, right.
But like,
Well, but that's the thing. Like, we were so tired.
no.
So, I mean, it's finding your own thing. But you're absolutely right. And I think I could be better, because most of my things are housework. I don't really have...
You are getting better though, because you've started doing more stuff. You've gone to the movies, like you went with your sister and stuff. Like, you just need to do more of it, or find something else that you like doing.
Right. No, yeah.
And it's not just, like, you gotta find a hobby.
Yeah.
And I think an important point to make, especially considering we're talking about it on the microphone, is that the time and space for self does not count at work. Work cannot be that time and space for yourself. Like, you need to do something outside of both.
Right.
But
Now, going to the gym while I'm at work, does that count?
no, I think going to the gym is fine, and that is time for yourself. That's self-improvement. I don't
No, I see.
necessarily agree to
Yeah.
that. Like, I think you
Well, I
need
do my
something to
puzzles.
stimulate your mind.
No, yeah. I'll
You
find
know.
something.
Even if it's going for a walk. Like, you said you wanted to do that 5K.
Yeah.
That's different than going to the gym to me, is because you have a goal and it's something that you want to turn into a hobby. You want to go and you want to do this, you want to achieve this goal. Like when I go to Psycho Cinema, my goal is to be a part of a community.
Right.
You know, and
No,
now
I was thinking about joining the film club.
then do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's expensive though.
Is it?
I don't know. Is it?
You don't always have to get something, but get a ticket.
Yeah.
You know that I don't. I think if it helps with your mental health, do it.
Yeah, true.
You
But
know?
see, I always have a hard time with spending money on myself like that. Like for you, it was always like, yeah, you need to go. You know what I mean? Like I was always supportive.
But we
of
need
you
to set
going,
stuff,
but-
set it aside. Like find something. Like it can't be something that's like, all right, once a week I'm going to spend $160 on, whatever.
Right.
You
Well, maybe
know.
I'll start getting my nails done. That always made me feel good.
All right, something like that. Find a
Yeah.
hobby, but you got to find something that stimulates your
Yeah.
mind. But anyway, going on to the next, it's trust each other.
Yeah.
I think we have a good fair amount of trust.
For sure.
Um,
And
you know-
that was one of the things that always solidified through the fights and through the uncertainty, during the exhaustion and during the really, really hard times, was that I always knew I could trust you.
well,
And I
but
never
even-
found that with anybody else.
Even then, I would take it a step further, is the points where trust had been broken. Like in any sense,
Mm.
we've,
Well, I don't know. When has our trust ever been broken with each other?
I don't know, but I guess I'm looking at it more along the lines of like, maybe not.
No, I mean, I just, not the fact that we can't really think of one is testament that we
I think
really,
trust, like when you were pregnant, and the trust of certain expectations and things like that should have
Yeah.
shined through, and just other things that have happened. Like it is sort of a broken trust in a way,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like we've recuperated from it,
Right.
and we've always been able to go back to the trust because we've always been honest with each other about
Yeah.
what caused that.
Right.
So
And how it made us feel.
I think there's a way out, a way back
Yeah.
in my mind if you can do it.
But it's self accountability, which is something we're trying to
Yeah.
teach the kids. It's
Yeah.
if you make a mistake or if you did something wrong, admit it as soon as you can and figure out a way to make it better and don't do it again.
Exactly, and always be honest about it.
Yeah.
Number 8, kind of roll through these a little bit. Enjoy spending time together. I don't think we need to really. I mean, we do a podcast together. We hang out together all the time. Like, I'm not going to dwell on this one.
Nah.
We do
We
enjoy
enjoy
spending
each
time.
other's company.
I will say this. I always said when I was filmmaking that filmmaking is the job that you cannot wait to get away from at the end of the day, but you cannot wait to get back to the next day. That's just, and anybody who's ever done filmmaking or something like been in that life understood that.
I kind of feel that way about my current position in social media, to be honest. Yeah.
It stimulates you. It
Yeah.
intrigues you. It's just it's a passion. It's a love. And the only other thing I've ever felt about is you guys, the family.
So you can't wait to get away from us?
When I like last night when I was going to Psycho Cinema, I think we had like a little bit of like an argument. Not really an argument, but we were kind of like,
No, yeah, for sure.
And I left, and I couldn't wait to go.
Yeah.
But I couldn't wait for it to be over so
Yeah,
I
I
could
know.
come back. And I think that's important in a marriage to
Yeah.
feel that way. So I think we do have that covered. We do enjoy spending time together. Even when we're annoyed, we'll watch something or we'll do something. We are friends. Like number
You're my
9 is
best friend.
you are friends. You're my best friend, babe. I don't have any friends.
No. Wait a minute.
I hope you have one friend.
That's the only friend you need.
Yeah.
Wait, what number was the other one?
No. Well, number 9 is you are friends, and that I do agree with that. You have to be friends, and even if you don't start out as friends when you get married, not that you don't start out as friends, but even if you don't start out as like the best
No,
of friends,
right, yeah.
it's that's part of marriage. I think is building that friendship.
Well, so we again, we had a very whirlwind time together. I mean, we got
agree.
married a year and 5 days after we met, and we didn't know each other before then at all. But
Well, no, that's not true. I had the private investigator file on you before.
But that the first few weeks / months, maybe at least a couple of months, we only hung out every other week. because I had, I was a single mom, and that's when my oldest father had him, and that was the only time I ever went out.
Yeah.
And outside of that, we talked on the phone or texted or talked on the phone. And
I would say we
emailed.
became friends.
We
jumped into a relationship but became friends.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, but it worked for us.
I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. I mean, you can sleep with someone on the first date and be married for 70 years.
Hear that, guys and girls?
But deep down, there are flags, both green and red, that tell you one way or the other that you can choose to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is where you can go wrong. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You can take as long as you need or sleep with someone it's whatever you just know.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this though, well no, I want to go on to the next one actually, because this kind of leads into that too, is you have to make, number 10 is you have to make decisions together. I think we do.
Yeah,
I think we make the decisions, and I don't think it's feel like we have to.
I think sometimes we get on the other person because I don't really know how to word it. Like, I think we, passively aggressively say, well, I guess the decision's been made, because we agree, but we're being kind of pissy with each other or something, but it's not that the other person doesn't agree. Now, I will say the struggle that we still have is parenting style, as far as making decisions together. I mean, we definitely make the big decisions together, especially large financial decisions together. But as far as, all decisions, we still do struggle.
Well, with parenting, I would say that it's not that, the problem isn't that we make decisions together, we do. It's both of us following through. Like,
right.
One of us may try a different style or do something different or act it differently, and then the other one's acting another way, and it's like, it's not helping the children when we do that. So we got to be on board with each other.
Well, next time I do something, just follow through with what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Well, this goes into number 11. And I do think there's some issues here. Intimacy. Not just sex. Sex is important in any relationship, but intimacy. And I think that is something we do struggle with.
Correct.
And so, why do you feel that you struggle with intimacy?
Well, like I've told you 1,000 times before. No, I'm just kidding.
You tell me.
So I think, again, going back to the reality of our life, we were older when we met. We had a baby. We already had another older child in the picture. We both worked. We both had a lot of growing pains at the beginning during that honeymoon phase where we still were, kind of on top of each other, hence the baby at the beginning.
Yeah.
But, I think once you settle down and get into the grind of day to day, I think a lot of it was that we got to a certain point where it was, at least for me, it's, and I tell you this often, it's like, if you, I don't know if I really want to talk about this on a podcast, but it's like, if you are going through something all day and you don't feel well, or you're doing something for the podcast, or you're doing something, and then, kind of other chores or what have you kind of go by the wayside, and then you're like, hey baby, let's, it's like, where was this energy before? Or if you see me running around trying to do everything, and again, this isn't really an issue anymore, but, if you use some more of that energy to help me or just to jump in, then I might have more.
But it's not just about sex.
I'm not talking about just sex.
But just intimacy in general. Like, I think we need to be more affectionate.
Agreed, but even just with affection, like if you're on your phone, and as few and far between, just worst case scenario, if you're on your phone all day and I'm losing my mind trying to get everything ready before, the week starts or whatever, and then you're like, I just want to cuddle. And I'm like, I don't want to cuddle with you, like, where were you?
I get that, but now think about it from another perspective. You may not want to, but why get to that point? Now, I'm not saying that you have to be this way or whatever. I'm saying that, like, if one way doesn't work, why aren't we trying other ways? Why aren't we trying something different? And it shouldn't just be, Mike, when you do more or when you're doing this, like, you have to be intimate too. So I think a lot of it would be, like, maybe we'll both be more inclined to work together, as if in the beginning, rather than complaining about being intimate at the end, or trying to be, and things didn't get done, or things fell by the wayside, before we get into it, we're more intimate and playful. We both might be more inclined to start doing things together.
Okay.
I'm just looking at it from what you were just saying. It was like, well, if we're always at the end of the race, and it's like nothing got done or whatever, and like I don't want to be intimate, then why not try to be intimate? Maybe that will build energy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense?
Sure.
And again, I'm not saying that this works or this is the answer, but it might be something to try.
Sure. Okay.
I feel like you just want to move on.
Sure.
All right.
I don't know, because then it's, I don't know.
All right.
And I think that is a female-male difference, because a female, and it sounds so silly when you say it, but like a female is a receiver. She has to be relaxed. She has to be in a certain state to, at least for me personally, like it's not something that I can fake.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that I would ever have to fake it with you, but as far as mood-wise, in that moment...
Because this is something that I don't think is going to get fixed on the podcast right now.
Well, no, I mean, nothing
we'll
will get
move
fixed.
on, because I think that we have
But I
wildly
think this is
different
a good-
views on this.
I think it's a good start, though, and I think that,
We'll see. I mean, we're just talking about it now, but we have wildly different views, and we need to make them work for each
Sure.
other.
Okay.
Don't be short with me.
I just was trying to be positive, and you're like, well, we'll see, so, all right, let's just move on then.
No, that's not how I
Right.
meant it. So, number 12. Intimacy again.
Yeah.
Go. No, number 12. You make each other better. You seem like you don't even want to talk now.
No, it's not that. You have been the talker, so...
Well, what do you think about that?
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think
I
it's incredibly
made you
vital.
way better.
Yeah.
I was already great, so...
Oh, so it's one-sided. Please write back and tell us what you
Awkward.
make her realize that I'm right all the time.
Going back, wait, what number was it where it was, they said you can't always be right? Oh, that was the second video.
Yeah.
That was the little piddly one that was kind of silly, but...
Okay, I kind of like some of those points there, too.
No, yeah, but one of them was, pride makes you think that you're always right, which...
That's not pride. It'd be prideful if I wasn't always right. No, but let's not go into that. So,
no, I mean, I don't know.
I do think we make each other better.
Yeah.
I think we could be better together.
Correct.
And I think that's what we need to strive for.
I mean, it's not even just better together. I think we could be better alone, which would make us better together.
Well, even like with the intimacy thing, I think fixing it, making each other better is what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And not just that. I mean, there's plenty of other things, but like I think striving to want to be better for each other is the main goal. Man, you're getting to a tired point. Like I see a dead air line right there. So it's like
you're the one who stopped talking. No, it's hard to talk about this intimate of a thing.
Yeah.
I think on the one hand, it creates an environment where it's almost like a safe space, because we know we have to be on our best behavior in a certain way, but it still gets us talking, and we do have a lot of awkward pauses where we will just stop talking. So this kind of prevents that.
Well, yes, but I also think when we talk about intimacy, it's we have two different definitions sometimes.
Yes.
Well, that is what we were lingering on, so I want to address it in an ending fashion.
Okay.
And I think that we have two different views on it. Like, for me, when I say intimacy, it's like I'm not thinking sex.
I know, and I don't always either.
Yeah, you do. All right, but with that being said, I want to end this by hearing one thing you love on the internet this week. Something you look at a lot of stuff, videos, memes, pictures. So I want to end it on a positive note. Something that you saw that you loved this week on the internet.
Well, yeah, but you can't like drop something like that on me. I mean, I guess the president signed the government funding, so
is that really it? Like,
I don't know.
Was there not like an uplifting video of a cat or something?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I will say there was that commercial where the guy was like had himself wrapped, and he was like, "I'm awake, I'm alive," and then his wife was wrapped up, and he's like, "I love you," and then he had power, and he had clean water, and he had a job and car and kids. Like, that one really.
Be thankful for what I saw. That be thankful for what you have.
That was a really good one.
You know, there's a perspective for the holidays, and
I will also say that I am loving Twitter right now. I have started following a number of hilarious parents that attack me in their tweets, but it's so real and it's so funny and just very clever, beautifully written. Loving it.
Well, I'm glad you like to be attacked.
Yeah.
I'm going to start attacking you when you walk past from now on.
That's not what I meant.
But like in 140 characters or less. So.
Exactly right. There is a character limit.
Well, I appreciate that. I have a lot of characters, no limit. But
there's a limit.
I think we had a good talk, and there's things we'll address in the future. But I do like this. With that being said, I think it's time to kind of wrap it up, and just want to say I want to know what you guys thought. You know, we both do. We want to hear comments. We want to message us, things like that. Let us know what you guys think. And if you have any topics that you want to hear us talk about.
Or something that you're struggling with your partner that, maybe we can relate to and we can broadcast on.
Or even
air.
Advice. If you heard us talk about anything like where we're slacking or something, advice helps.
Yeah.
We want to hear that too. So
it takes a village.
Exactly. And I like that. That saying. But with that being said, make sure that you are following us on social media, because we are always posting, keeping everybody up to date. Go check out thescenesnobs.com for all our podcast videos, things like that. I am at the Scene Snob on Instagram and Twitter. At Mary the Mommy. Nope.
That's never my handle.
That's Instagram.
I'm straight out of comp time. Straight out of nap time. Straight out of comp time. I'm so tired.
You're straight out of nap time on Twitter.
But it's all funky how
and what is it on Instagram?
I think it is. I think it's...
You can find her at Mary the Mommy. You can, because I found you on both Instagram and Twitter at Mary the Mommy.
Well, I don't look for myself, so I will trust you on that.
And if not, I'll point you guys in the right direction. That's true. Now, also subscribe to the YouTube channel. The Scene Snobs YouTube channel, and that's about it.
I bid you good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.